That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Cash Out, which I believe is the third film directed by Randall Emmett, despite the fact that the credits tell you someone named Ives, like the progeny of Burl Ives, directed this film, which is being released courtesy of Saban Films on April 26th, 2024.
This is the first time we've recorded a video on a Saturday morning in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think this film is worth the effort, but...
It was not worth any effort.
What is it about? Professional thief Mason attempts his biggest heist with his brother, robbing a bank. When it goes wrong, they're trapped inside, surrounded by law enforcement. Tensions rise as Mason negotiates with his ex-lover, the lead negotiator. What's your pull quote?
Evoking the same desperation induced at a restaurant where all conceivable aspects of the experience were lamentably subpar, the exit sign beckons while you wait for the end to cash out.
Ugh. It's a shame Cash Out is so incompetently made because it might have worked as a zany romantic comedy. Yeah, this is like
Al Pacino and Charles Durning in Love and Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, this movie's terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, since we don't really know who the director is.
Well, it's
safe to assume.
It's Randall, I'm sorry, Fofty Emmett.
Because he directed the sequel. There's already a sequel for this movie that was filmed.
Uh-huh.
But there's some scandal. I don't know Randall Emmett. Apparently he is the ex-fiance of some Vanderpump Rules lady.
Yes, I know there was some kind of other scandal where he owed 50 Cent money.
Oh.
And there were some very public exchanges about that.
I don't care.
Yeah. I don't really care either, but we have seen a previous film directed by him, Midnight in the Switchgrass.
Oh.
During that period of time where Bruce Willis was being taken advantage of.
Oh. Okay, what is this movie about? So, Mason is played by John Travolta, and he's this professional thief, and he has a crew comprised of his brother, Lukas Haas, the tech-savvy girl played by Natali Yura. Mm-hmm. Then we have Quavo and Noel G, who are part of the crew as the heavy.
Yeah.
Which is so unbelievable.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even see these two being bouncers at a gay bar. They just don't look like...
Well, they definitely couldn't handle a lesbian bar.
So that's the crew. Mm-hmm. The opening of the film is their biggest heist yet, which is to steal a car. I didn't quite catch what the car was, if it's an original Bugatti or something. I don't know. But we're told that it's worth a lot of money because someone tried to buy it for $20 million and they were told no. So these fools steal it. But immediately as they're driving away with this car, police surround them, helicopters follow them, so they know that someone snitched. Well, who is it? Along on the ride is John Travolta's girlfriend, Amelia, played by Kristin Davis. And immediately when you see her, it's something wasn't right when we saw everybody, but
right.
She's the snitch because she's an FBI agent. She went undercover for 2 years feigning this relationship with John Travolta so that she could get enough evidence to arrest him. But they execute Plan B. And apparently their Plan B is to fake their own deaths because they do it again in the end. But they basically drive their vehicles into the ocean and somehow they're able to evade law enforcement. There are 100 cars following them, helicopters following them, and somehow they escape.
Nothing makes sense about how small their operation versus what they're trying to pull off with this car. You're just going to drive this car down the road, and no one's going to pay any kind of attention. We need to talk about that opening though, because.
Well, let me finish the story. Okay. So we fast forward 3 months. And we see that John Travolta is living on his island peacefully. The rest of his crew, they were also able to escape. But Lukas Haas tells his brother, we need to pull one more heist. Someone told me about this cryptocurrency at this bank, and I want to go get it. And John says no. But then he gets a call from Natali, the tech lady.
Link is her name.
Link.
Like the gorilla in that movie where Elizabeth Shue is assaulted.
And she's like, well, you better come out to Seattle because your brother's going to pull off this heist. So John Travolta goes to make sure that his brother doesn't F it up. And it's clear that Lukas Haas doesn't know what he's doing at all, which we need to talk about. But they get there, and we find out that it was a setup, that there is no cryptocurrency, and we need to get to that too, because I was a little confused on why they would set it up, because we find out that what's there is this like auxiliary vault where we're told this elite group of like villains keep their dirty little secrets, and it's called a dirt box, as if this is a thing, I guess.
Like the All-American Rejects once sang about.
So of course, a representative for the elite, this character named Mr. Flowers, shows up and says basically like, whatever's in this box, which is basically like it's like a server with a bunch of data, can never get out. So how does John Travolta and his crew escape? He basically blackmails Mr. Flowers and says, if you don't get us new identities, $10 million a piece, and a flight out of here, we're going to release all the info. And then immediately we flash forward to John Travolta's back on the island, and guess who's come to be with him? Kristin Davis. So apparently they were in love. The end. Okay, let's talk about the opening.
They found love in a boring place, yeah. The opening, both Travolta and Kristin Davis are using this faux Euro accent.
That's my first note. What is this accent they're doing?
I'm glad it goes away.
But they show up to this elite event where like people are auctioning, like I don't know what it was, like airplanes?
I don't know.
So John Travolta and Kristin Davis show up as this couple with this weird Europea accent, and they meet the person who's running it. And they're like, well, never mind these planes. We heard about your car collection, like this super secret car collection. Can we see it? And what does this man do? Okay. Even though they seem so suspect with these weird accents.
John Travolta first says, I want to see your collection.
Oh.
And then goes...
The collection.
You know, the collection. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the man understood what you were saying.
No, we'll say it again. He says, we're here to see the collection. The collection. Like, in case you were confused what collection means.
Ooh.
Oh, that was so terrible. So they go into this big garage, and all of the cars are right in front of them. Mm-hmm. And there appear to be maybe like 9 cars. 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and then one at the end, covered, like surrounded by like a velvet rope. And I was so annoyed at the acting, because as these two are walking down the line, first of all, they're walking like it's a mile-long walk. Mm-hmm. It's the length of like 5 cars is what the walk is. And every time they see a car, they go, oh, look at that. Like, you can see all of the cars in your view.
It plays like, oh, look at that, Kristin Davis, read my line about the specs of the car.
Yes, real crunchy. Mm-hmm. Then finally, after they look at all the cars, they go, oh, but I heard you had this super rare car, and I forget the name. Do you have that here? And it's like, what do you think that car with the velvet rope around it covered up is? So of course they unveil it. And John Travolta asks the man, could I sit in it and start the engine? Because the guy says, oh, I don't drive these because it would devalue them. Every once in a while, I start the engine. And this man says, okay.
To these strangers.
To these strangers who show up to a plane auction.
Who aren't even acting like they have money very well.
No. They get in the car, start it, and drive the hell off. Okay, we need to talk about the tech lady Link.
What is it with all of these? Because that's also a trope in the new... we just reviewed it with Catherine Newton playing also this plucky young woman... Oh, and Abigail, where it seems to be young women in heist films are now shoehorned into this trope of being these hackers.
Well, STEM, I mean, science is important. But no, yes. So everything she does makes no sense. That we just see her at a laptop and she's like, I'm going to kill the lights. So all the lights turn off. Oh, I'm going to open a door. The door's open. But it seems like a lot of the things she's doing are not even connected like to any wiring that she would be able to override them. But anyway, she turns off all the lights. Quavo and Noel G come in, disarm the security.
They've been working their plants.
And they drive smooth the hell off. But we need to talk about Quavo. I was so confused because he's working as a bartender at this event. And when John Travolta approaches him, Quavo says, how you doing, sir? Oh, these these cars they have here, the rich people like to leave the keys in the car. So this is so poorly written because are we supposed to believe that they showed up to this event with the idea of stealing this car, not knowing that the keys would be in there? Like, did Quavo do recon and learn that the keys are in there? What if they weren't in there? Was this entire job, would it have been for naught?
And what if this man did not agree to let them start the engine?
Right. Okay, it's also the opening scene where we're introduced to this style of cinematography that I did not appreciate. I mean, the movie looks cheap in the way you would expect, but it's also doing this thing where it almost looks like we have a camera on a bee, and the bee is buzzing around everyone. I thought that looked so horrible.
Why try to make this cinema verite? I don't know.
And then the CGI looks like from the graphics during those shots look like a video game from 2005.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty bad.
It's bad. I feel like they should have just implied that the explosions happened.
So 3 months later, and this is when we were hit really hard with not just the soundtrack, but the score.
Oh, the score. Jagmar Kaplan. I'm sorry, sir, but this was a...
There were times when it felt like a Lifetime, rom-com.
Ooh, it's bad. Well, it also calls into question, what type of movie was trying to be made?
Yes.
What is the tone of this movie?
Well, because the casting would indicate something different than what the final result is.
I think you could refurbish this film, as you were saying. In this could be something you'd see at the multiplexes. You said starring Reese Witherspoon.
And you said, Chris Pine.
Yeah.
And they're a bank robber and an FBI negotiator who fall in love during the negotiation during this bank robbery.
Yeah. this
movie could have worked in that way.
Well, worked. It would have been stupid and nonsensical, but you could see how somebody could make it sparkle, Neely, sparkle.
And the soundtrack also felt dated. They're doing these EDM type dance rap blends with. It all felt very 2005 to me.
Yes, and Mr. Travolta's trying to look like that as the era as well. I think I was thankful that there was no toupee budget because I think he's very distracting looking. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you could reasonably cast him now as these days, but at least they don't try to do that hair thing they do with him where it looks which is even more distracting, where they paint hair on him.
So Lukas Haas, they make his character so incompetent. These are supposed to be world-class thieves because they're at the top of the FBI's most wanted list.
Yes.
But they seem so incompetent, particularly Lukas Haas. His plan to rob the bank is that the bank manager, who I have to call out his name, the actor is Swen Temmel. Didn't he look like he could be John Travolta's son?
I was convinced that by the end credits I was going to read the last name Travolta on him.
Oh, I paused the movie and looked this guy up because I thought he looked exactly like John Travolta in that Saturday
Night Fever?
Where his hair's longer. It's one of the two where his hair's a little longer. He looked just like him.
Sure.
He's a nice looking man. Anyway.
Pulp Fiction, his hair's longer.
Oh, yes. Like a young John Travolta with Pulp Fiction hair. That's what this character, Swen Temmel's playing, looks like. But anyway, Lukas Haas's plan is to catch the bank manager at lunch.
While he's eating his Qdobo outside or whatever.
And basically holds him at gunpoint and says, "You're going to take me to the bank and open the vault." And it's like...
Okay. He's like, "I got plants inside. You don't want to do anything bad."
Oh, it was so stupid.
I'm sorry. If I was that bank manager, I would have just run away. Lukas Haas looking at me? No.
But then John Travolta shows up and says, "Okay, this is what we're going to do." But then Lukas Haas doesn't listen, goes into the bank anyway, and that's where everything goes left. Mm-hmm. So they end up having to take hostages, and now it's a showdown. So now for the next hour, it's just a lot of talking, not much action, and it's like Kristin Davis and John Travolta are now kind of flirting. Not flirting heavily, but it's she clearly has an affection for him and she wants to help him get out of this. But eventually she gets kicked off the project because now the military has come in, mm-hmm. because of course this elite group of villains want to protect their dirt box. So, and they're connected. So the military comes in, and John Travolta's plan, like I said, is to blackmail them and to fake his own death. So he says, "We're going to do plan B again." And so he rigs explosives and basically blows up a portion of the bank. Because the bank is a multi-level building. So I don't know why they would assume John Travolta is dead. if the entire building didn't implode. It's just the front part. And then we see like, oh, they got away. No one ever caught them.
Yeah.
What? That's so stupid. We're told that John Travolta's character is a notorious international criminal by the name of Ace of Spades.
I wrote that down too. Like, really, they just throw that in there.
I think it's also funny they're in Seattle. Okay, so the bank manager is kind of cocky and telling them like, you're never going to get away with this. I found that so obnoxious. But then we find out that this dirt box, this private server, is not in the vault at the bank. They own the building next door, and that's where it is. I don't understand why this elite group of villains who have all this super sensitive information would trust it with this one bank manager in this building in Seattle that's like adjacent to a bank.
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. Why wouldn't it be in a remote location? And anyway.
This needed to, whatever that was, it needed to feel like Spike Lee's Inside Man, where it's like, like before anybody even walks in this bank, their dander is up.
The story, the script, it's all so subpar. There's nothing slick. Every movie like this, the heist portion is supposed to feel slick and clever. Mm-hmm. There isn't a single thing about this story.
Even, what's his name's film, who I can't stand? Ambulance.
Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that had something. Yeah, exactly.
But that also makes sense in a city where it's like, I could imagine people trying to do shit like Seattle. I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to stay under the radar, sure, but then something needed to be added that makes that feel correct.
The lady Link she like opens doors that appear like, why would they be wired to anything that would just let them open?
But it's like her magic doesn't work everywhere, because when the bank manager punches out Lukas Haas and gets away with his gun,
she can't do anything.
She can't. He takes an elevator, and I wrote she can't stop that elevator.
Right, but can we? I used to work in a bank, so maybe I understand safe deposit boxes better than the average person.
It doesn't take a lot.
But you're a professional thief who's robbing a bank. And you don't understand that safe deposit boxes require 2 keys to open? Lukas Haas walks in there and tells young John Travolta, open the safe deposit box. And he's like, well, where's your key, girl? Like, I have my key. And he's clueless. This writing is ridiculous. What was this supposed to be a comedy?
I don't know. Lukas, when you hire Lukas Haas, for somebody that everybody knows he's best friends with Leonardo DiCaprio, why isn't your friend helping you with something? Because
I'm sure he was having fun. He just likes to be on set. It's fine. Mr. Flowers, he's the representative for the elite villains. A handsome man, but this acting and this writing were terrible. At one point, he's threatening Kristin Davis, like, you need to take care of this the way I'm telling you, or there's going to be an avalanche. And as you're aware, avalanches are about gravity. You either get out of the way or you get buried alive. I know whoever wrote that thought they were doing something.
I don't know. Is there a point where Kristin Davis thought she might be in trouble? Early on, when after the opening scene and John Travolta's on a dock drinking a beer, looking just like he's relaxing, like he's on break, like he's got a shirt on, he's drinking a beer. Lukas Haas comes and he's like, "Oh, she broke you, didn't she?" Kristin Davis in this movie. Kristin
Davis, who's looking like Hal Sparks nowadays.
Kristin Davis broke you, and also he doesn't seem very broken. They have some light exchange about what kind of fish he's.
Are we supposed to believe that they were in love? Like, I mean, him, sure, because she, I guess, did a good job. But like, was she that in love with him that she's given up her career
with this man
to be with that man?
This criminal with a dum for a brother. No. I don't think so.
So in the end, when John Travolta blackmails Mr. Flowers, he says, this is what we're going to do. You're going to give me and each of my crew members $10 million. You're going to give every hostage $1 million. And then you're going to give the bank manager $1 million, even though he was a jerk. And then you need to get us out of here and get us new identities. Okay, fine, we'll do that.
Done.
And we learn that not because we're watching it. We see the bank explode, and then we fast forward and see that John Travolta's safe on an island, and Kristin Davis shows up. And then she goes, so you gotta tell me, how did you get out of there? And then we get a flashback explaining it, and then we go back to them sitting on the island, and he offers her a beer, like they're gonna be together. Because he told her, if I get out of here, I want you to meet me on the island so we can be together. Why do you want to be with the lady who set you up? She was faking it.
I wouldn't want to tell her anything. There aren't other ladies on, what island's he on? Tyler Perry's Island for Lost Boys?
Oh, after John Travolta tells Kristin how he got away, she goes, wow, I thought I was ruthless. That didn't make any sense.
We need to talk about the heavies.
Oh, well, before we do that, I forgot to mention, while he's telling her the story about how he escaped and he's sitting on the beautiful house in the backyard, a beautiful palatial backyard with a huge pool, who's been underwater the entire time? Lukas Haas. Lukas Haas's character, while John Travolta is recounting the story to Kristin Davis, he has his little snorkel in, and he's just been like waiting underwater until they're done. And then he pops up and says, hi. A comedy. This is a comedy.
I get the sense that Lukas Haas is like that in many people's lives, actually.
Oh, okay, the heavies. Noel G and Quavo.
Quavo, I wrote down, he talks too damn much.
Okay, Quavo's I like him on screen. He has nice, I'm not going to say presence, but I liked him on screen. And he seems cute.
I wrote down also that he's neither bad nor bougie in this.
Yeah, I don't understand why I'm assuming he thought, I'm going to do a movie with John Travolta and that lady from Sex and the City. And that was good enough for him.
And I'll be a bank robber.
And then the other guy, Noel G, he plays characters like this all the time.
Yes, he does. You've seen him in things.
Yeah.
Something far superior would be dragged across concrete. But when they start taking the hostages, he's telling everybody their names.
Okay, that's what's confusing is they're really affable at times. Like they're being very nice to the people, but then sometimes they're being full-on fools, like giving their real names. And then sometimes they're being really mean to the hostages.
Oh, when they get pizza and Noel G throws boxes of pizza, not at me. You eat this pizza.
Or Quavo's like, move, you old bitch, don't look at me. And it's like, okay. The writing of these characters is terrible.
Yes.
This was a waste of time.
I can't believe, because this shot in 2022, there's already a sequel. Who wants these films?
What is the business model for Saban Films to just buy these movies, release them?
We didn't drag the screenwriters, which we need to. Dipo Oseni is one of them. But the other biggie on here is Doug Richardson, who back in the 90s was writing things like Bad Boys and Die Hard 2. So what happened?
This will definitely be on my worst of the year list. What would you give Cash Out?
And I think we needed a moment like that moment in Face Off where we get cash out. I want to take my cash out.
What would you give this movie?
0.5. The lowest I give anything, 0.5.
I would give it 0.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.